Captain Tae-ho Kim pressed his back against a broken wall. Dust covered his once clean uniform. Blood dripped from a cut above his right eye. He wiped it away with his dirty sleeve and checked his gun. 3 bullets left. Not enough. He peeked over the wall. The alien ships had stopped firing. Smoke rose from the burning buildings of Outpost Sentinel. This human colony, once home to 5,000 people, was now silent. Too silent. Tae-ho looked at the small computer on his wrist. It showed the life signs of his team. All flat lines. Lieutenant Dae Sung-han had died first, hit by the initial blast when the aliens arrived. Then Medic Ji-won Song, killed while trying to save a family trapped in a fallen building. The twins, Jun and Ji-ho Lee, had lasted longer. They died only an hour ago, buying time for the last escape ship to leave. At least they got away, Tae-ho whispered to himself. Some of the colonists had escaped, children mostly. The future of humanity, now flying toward Earth with warnings about the Na'vi. The Na'vi. Beings made of crystal who came from another galaxy. No one knew why they attacked. They just arrived one day, their ships like shards of glass in the sky, and began to destroy human colonies. Their weapons cut through Earth's best ships like they were made of paper. Their armor reflected bullets and energy blasts. Tae-ho's mission had been simple. Hold the colony long enough for the evacuation ships to launch. Mission complete. But now he was alone on a dead world. He tapped the radio button on his helmet. Again. This is Captain Tae-ho Kim of Earth Defense Force. Outpost Sentinel has fallen. If anyone can hear this message, the evacuation was successful. I repeat, the children are safe. Only static answered him. The Na'vi had destroyed all the communication towers. No one could hear him. Tae-ho sighed and checked his supplies. 1 water bottle, half full, 2 food bars, a small medical kit, his knife, and the 3 bullets. He had to make a choice, stay and wait for death, or try to reach the emergency beacon on the mountain 40 miles away. Before he could decide, his wrist computer beeped. He looked down, confused. It showed a life sign. Not human, not completely, but something alive about half a mile away, where a Na'vi ship had crashed. That's not possible, he said. All the Na'vi he had seen die turned to dust within minutes. Their crystal bodies broke down once they were killed. So what was still alive in that ship? Tae-ho knew the smart choice was to ignore it, head for the mountain, try to call for help. But something pulled at him. Curiosity, maybe, or just the need to not be alone. This is probably a mistake, he said to himself as he gathered his few supplies. But he started walking toward the crashed alien ship anyway. The walk was hard. Broken buildings and dead bodies were everywhere. Tae-ho tried not to look at the faces. These had been people he knew, people he had failed to save. The alien ship came into view as the sun began to set. It wasn't like the big warships that had attacked the colony. This one was smaller, sleeker, more like a small transport vessel. Its crystal surface was cracked but still beautiful, catching the red light of the setting sun and breaking it into rainbow patterns on the ground. Tae-ho approached carefully, gun ready. The ship had a large crack in its side, big enough for him to enter. He hesitated at the opening, then took a deep breath and went inside. The air in the ship was different, sweeter, cleaner than the smoke-filled air outside. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Tae-ho followed his wrist computer, moving deeper into the ship. The life sign was getting stronger. He came to a round room with smooth walls. In the center was something like a bed, though it seemed to float in the air without support. On the floor beside it lay a Na'vi. Female, Tae-ho thought, though it was hard to tell with their crystal bodies. This one was already turning to dust, the process nearly complete. But she had been trying to protect something even as she died. Tae-ho moved closer and saw what the Na'vi woman had died protecting. It was a baby, but not a Na'vi baby, not entirely, and not a human baby either, not completely. The child had skin that seemed to shift between normal human flesh and clear crystal, Its tiny hands opened and closed as it made soft sounds. When it turned its head to look at Taeho, he gasped. The baby had one brown human eye and one blue crystal eye. "What are you?" Taeho whispered, kneeling beside the child. The baby just blinked at him. Taeho checked his wrist computer again. The readings were confusing. The baby showed both human and Na'vi DNA, a hybrid. Something that should not be possible. "How did this happen?" he asked the empty ship. No one answered. The baby made a small sound. Not quite a cry, but close. It was hungry, maybe. Or cold. Or scared. Taeho had no experience with babies. He was a soldier, trained to fight and kill, not to care for children. He looked around the room and found some containers that might be food. They were labeled in the strange angular writing of the Na'vi. Useless to him. There was also a soft blanket-like material beside the dead Na'vi. Taeho picked it up and carefully wrapped the baby in it. "I should leave you," he told the child. "I need to get to the mountain, call for help." The baby reached up and touched his face with a tiny hand that felt warm on one side and cool on the other. Something shifted in Taeho's heart. He remembered his sister's children back on Earth. He had a photo of them in his pocket. He hadn't seen them in 3 years, not since he joined the Defense Force. Would they even remember him if he died here? The baby made another sound, more urgent this time. Its mismatched eyes looked directly into Taeho's as if asking a question. "Fine," Taeho said after a long moment. "I can't just leave you here." He carefully picked up the baby, checking to make sure the blanket was secure. Then he used strips of cloth from his medical kit to make a carrier, tying the baby to his chest. "Commanding officer would say I've lost my mind," Taeho told the baby as he worked. "The enemy's child. I should—" He couldn't finish the thought. Despite everything, he couldn't imagine hurting this innocent baby, no matter who its parents were. When the baby was secure against his chest, Taeho stepped back outside. Night had fallen. Stars filled the sky, cold and distant. Somewhere up there, the war between humans and Na'vi continued. But down here on this dead world there was just Taeho and this strange child. "We need to move," he said, looking toward the distant mountain where the emergency beacon waited. "It's a long walk, and I don't know what's between us and there." The baby made a sound that might have been agreement. "I must be losing my mind talking to a baby," Taeho muttered, "especially an enemy baby." But as he started walking, he felt a strange sense of purpose that had been missing before. He was no longer just surviving. He had something to protect. Now, he was the last soldier alive. And still, he carried the enemy's baby to safety. Dawn broke over the ruined colony. Pink light spread across broken buildings and empty streets. Taeho had walked all night, the strange baby secured to his chest. He needed to find shelter before the Na'vi search parties began their morning patrols. "We need to rest," he told the baby, who looked up at him with mismatched eyes. "One brown, one blue crystal. And I need to figure out what to feed you." The baby made a soft sound. Not quite a cry. More like a question. Taeho spotted a small house at the edge of the colony. Its walls were still standing, though the roof had a hole in it. Good enough. He checked his wrist computer for enemy signals. Nothing close by. He moved quickly to the house and slipped inside. The front room was dusty but empty. A family had lived here once. There were pictures on the walls. A man, a woman, 2 small children. Taeho wondered if they had made it to the escape ships. He hoped so. He found the kitchen and started opening cabinets. Most were empty. The colonists had taken what they could when they fled, but in the back of one cabinet he found a can of powdered milk. "This might work," he said, looking at the baby. "If I mix it with water." He filled a bowl with water from his bottle and mixed in some of the milk powder. Then he tore a clean strip from his undershirt, dipped it in the mixture, and held it to the baby's lips. The baby seemed confused at first. Then it sucked on the cloth eagerly. "You were hungry," Taeho said, feeling oddly pleased. "I guess even half-alien babies need to eat." While the baby fed, Tejo studied it more closely. The strange shifting between human skin and crystal happened, in waves. First the baby would look almost completely human, then crystal would spread across its skin in beautiful patterns before fading again. The effect was mesmerizing. "What are you?" Tejo asked quietly. "How can you even exist?" Everyone knew that humans and Na'vi were completely different life forms. Humans were carbon-based. Na'vi were silicon-based, more like living crystals than flesh. Their blood was like liquid glass. Their bones were crystal lattices. The two species were as different as two intelligent beings could be. Yet here was this baby. Proof that somehow the two species could be combined. When the baby finished eating, Tejo made a small bed for it using cushions from the living room couch. He needed to sleep too, but first he wanted to check the house for anything useful. In a bedroom, he found clothes he could use to make a better carrier for the baby. In the bathroom, he found some soap and a first aid kit. Best of all, in a locked cabinet in the hallway, he found a gun with a full clip of bullets. Now he had a better chance if they met Na'vi patrols. Tejo returned to the front room and sat on the floor next to the sleeping baby. He took out the photo of his sister's children he kept in his pocket. Jun and Min. They would be 7 years old now. He hadn't seen them in 3 years, since he joined the Earth Defense Force. The war with the Na'vi had started so suddenly. One day, humanity was expanding peacefully through the stars. The next, crystal ships appeared above the outer colonies and began destroying everything. No warning. No demands. Just death. "Why?" Tejo asked the sleeping baby. "Why did your people attack us?" The baby didn't answer. But as Tejo watched, its tiny hand began to glow softly. The glow spread up its arm in beautiful patterns of light. Then it faded. Tejo's wrist computer suddenly beeped. He looked down at it. For a moment, all the readings went crazy. Energy spikes. Strange readings. Then everything returned to normal. "Did you do that?" he asked the baby, surprised. The baby just slept peacefully. Tejo was tired. Too tired to think about what it meant. He checked the doors and windows to make sure they were secure, then lay down beside the cushions where the baby slept. He needed rest. They had a long journey ahead. Tejo woke to the sound of ships. He jumped up and went to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain. 3 Na'vi scout ships flew low over the colony, their crystal surfaces catching the afternoon sun. "They're looking for something," he whispered, "or someone." His eyes went to the baby, still sleeping on the cushions. Was it possible they were looking for this child? But how would they know it was here? The baby stirred and opened its eyes. As if sensing Tejo's thoughts, it began to glow again. The light patterns moved across its skin like writing in a language Tejo couldn't read. The wrist computer beeped again. This time a warning message flashed. "Energy signature detected. Possible tracking." "Stop," Tejo said urgently, picking up the baby. "They can find us if you do that." The baby looked at him, its mismatched eyes seeming to understand. The glowing slowly faded. Tejo peeked out the window again. One of the scout ships had changed direction. It was heading toward the house. "We need to move," he told the baby, quickly gathering their supplies. Now, he tied the baby to his chest using the cloth carrier he had made from the bedroom sheets. Better than the medical strips he'd used before. Then he grabbed the gun, the water bottle, and the can of milk powder. Everything else would have to be left behind. The back door led to a small yard with a fence. Beyond it was a forest. If they could reach the trees, they might be able to hide. Tejo slipped out the back door just as he heard the Na'vi ship landing in the street in front of the house. He ran across the yard, jumped the fence, and sprinted for the tree line. Behind him, he heard the high-pitched sound of Na'vi voices. They had entered the house. The trees were close now. Just a few more steps. The baby was quiet against his chest, as if it knew they needed silence. They reached the forest just as Tejo heard the Na'vi emerge from the back of the house. He ducked behind a large tree and held his breath. The baby's hand pressed against his chest, warm and reassuring. Through the trees, Tejo could see 3 Na'vi soldiers. They were tall, their bodies made of blue-white crystal that caught the light in beautiful but alien ways. They carried weapons that looked like they had grown rather than been made. The soldiers moved with fluid grace, examining the yard and the fence. One of them pointed to the ground. Footprints. Taeho's footprints leading right to the forest. The Na'vi spoke to each other in their strange language. It sounded like glass chimes in the wind. Beautiful but impossible to understand. Taeho tightened his grip on the gun. If they came into the forest, he would have to fight. But there were 3 of them and only one of him. And he had the baby to protect. To his surprise, the Na'vi turned and went back to their ship. They hadn't followed his tracks. It was as if they had decided not to pursue him. The ship rose into the air and flew away, joining the others that were now moving toward the far side of the colony. Taeho let out the breath he had been holding. That was strange, he told the baby. Why didn't they follow us? The baby made a soft sound and placed its small hand on Taeho's cheek. For a moment, Taeho felt a strange connection, as if the baby was trying to tell him something. But the feeling passed quickly. We should keep moving, Taeho said. Mount Hala is that way. He pointed to a distant mountain visible above the trees. That's where the emergency transmitter is. If we can reach it, maybe we can call for help. The baby made another sound, almost like agreement. You need a name, Taeho realized as they began walking through the forest. I can't just keep calling you the baby. He thought for a moment, then smiled. Subin, it means extraordinary, and you certainly are that. The newly named Subin seemed to like the name. It made a happy sound and its skin glowed briefly, with soft patterns of light. But no more glowing, Taeho said quickly. Not until we're far away from here. It's not safe. As if understanding, Subin's glow faded. Its mismatched eyes looked up at Taeho with what seemed like trust. I'll keep you safe, Taeho promised, surprised by how much he meant it. Somehow, we'll find a way off this planet. They walked deeper into the forest as the sun began to set. Behind them, the ruined colony grew distant. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and a long journey. But for the first time since the attack, Taeho felt something other than despair. He had a purpose now, a mission. Not just to survive, but to protect this extraordinary child who should not exist, yet did. He was the last soldier alive, and now he carried the enemy's baby to safety. 5 days had passed since Taeho and Subin left the ruined colony. They moved through forests and valleys, always keeping Mount Hala in sight. The mountain grew larger each day, but it was still far away. Taeho had settled into a routine. They traveled only at night when it was harder for Na'vi patrols to spot them. During the day, they hid in caves or thick bushes. Taeho would sleep while Subin napped beside him, wrapped in the soft cloth he had taken from the house. The powdered milk was almost gone. Taeho had to find other food for Subin. He mashed soft berries and mixed them with water. Subin seemed to like this better than the milk anyway. You're not like normal babies, Taeho told Subin as they rested in a small cave on the 5th day. You never cry. You sleep when I need you to sleep. It's almost like you understand. Subin looked at him with those strange eyes, one human brown and one Na'vi blue, and made a soft sound that almost seemed like a response. Taeho had noticed other strange things about Subin. The baby's skin changed more often now, shifting between human flesh and crystal in beautiful patterns. And when this happened, nearby plants seemed to grow faster. Flowers would bloom, fruits would ripen. It was as if Subin gave life to things around him. What are you? Taeho asked for the 100th time. What will you become? Subin just reached, up with tiny fingers that glittered at the tips. That night, as they prepared to continue their journey, Taeho's wrist computer beeped with a warning. Na'vi patrols were nearby. 3 ships moving in a search pattern. They're still looking for something, Taeho whispered to Subin. For you, maybe? Subin made a soft sound, and his skin began to glow faintly. No, Taeho said quickly. No, glowing. They might see it. The glow faded, but Taeho's wrist computer showed the Na'vi ships changing course. They were heading toward the cave. "We need to move," Taeho said. He quickly gathered their few supplies and secured Subin against his chest. "Stay quiet, little one." They slipped out of the cave and into the dark forest. Taeho moved carefully, trying not to make any sound. Above them, through gaps in the trees, he could see the crystal ships glittering in the moonlight. A beam of light suddenly shot down from one of the ships, scanning the forest floor. Taeho froze behind a large tree. The light moved closer, sweeping back and forth through the trees. Subin shifted against Taeho's chest. The baby seemed tense, as if he could sense the danger. Then, to Taeho's horror, Subin began to glow again, brighter this time. Much brighter. "Stop," Taeho whispered desperately. "They'll see us." But Subin didn't stop. The glow spread across his small body, pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Taeho's wrist computer went crazy, beeping with warnings. As its systems failed, the search beam from the Na'vi ship froze, then turned directly toward their hiding place. "Run," Taeho told himself. "Run now." He sprinted through the forest, ducking under branches and jumping over fallen trees. Behind him, he heard the high whine of the Na'vi ship engines as they gave chase. A clearing appeared ahead. Taeho hesitated, then ran across it. Open ground was dangerous, but the forest on the other side was thicker, better for hiding. Halfway across the clearing, a bright light bathed Taeho and Subin. The Na'vi ship hovered directly above them, its crystal surface shining like a star. Taeho reached for his gun, knowing it was useless against the ship but unwilling to give up without a fight. Before he could draw it, a beam shot from the ship, freezing him in place, not a weapon, some kind of stasis field. A door opened in the bottom of the ship. A platform descended, carrying 4 Na'vi soldiers. They approached Taeho slowly, their crystal bodies catching the light from the ship above. Their weapons were raised but not pointed directly at him. The lead Na'vi stepped forward. It was taller than the others, with a more complex crystal pattern. A commander, maybe. It made a series of clicking sounds, then tilted its head as if waiting for a response. Taeho couldn't move. He could only stand there, Subin glowing against his chest. "I don't understand you," he said. The Na'vi commander seemed to consider this. Then it reached up to its throat and touched something. When it spoke again, the words came out in broken but understandable English. "The child of prophecy," it said, its voice sounding like wind through crystal chimes. "You protect it." Taeho was shocked. "You speak our language?" "We learn to understand enemy." The Na'vi looked at Subin. "Not enemy now. Child changes this." Subin's glow pulsed brighter for a moment, and the Na'vi soldiers all took a step back. Their crystal bodies resonated, giving off soft tones like music. "What is happening?" Taeho asked. "What is this child?" The Na'vi commander moved closer, its blue crystal eyes fixed on Subin. "Child of 2 worlds. Not possible, we thought. Yet it exists." It looked up at Taeho. "You protect it. Why?" Taeho didn't know how to answer. Why had he taken this strange baby? Why risk his life for the child of an enemy? "It needed help," he said finally. "It's innocent. Not part of our war." The Na'vi commander made a sound like glass bells. It took Taeho a moment to realize it was laughing. "Human thinking strange," it said. "But good. You prove old stories true." "What old stories?" Taeho asked. "Stories of peace. Before the fear came." The Na'vi looked sad, though Taeho didn't know how he could tell that from a face made of crystal. "Long ago we knew of humans, watched from far away. Some said we could be friends." "Then why attack us?" Taeho demanded, anger rising. "Fear," the Na'vi said simply. "We learned humans could make weapons from our kind. Weapons that would destroy us all." Subin made a sound and reached toward the Na'vi commander. The baby's small hand glowed brightly. The Na'vi commander hesitated, then reached out one crystal finger. When it touched Subin's hand, a flash of light passed between them. The Na'vi stepped back quickly. "The child speaks," it said, sounding shocked. "Shows things. Impossible things. The stasis field suddenly released Tai-ho. He stumbled, then steadied himself, holding Subin protectively. "We will not harm you," the Na'vi commander said, "or the child. Go to your mountain, but be warned. Others search too, others who fear the child." "Other Na'vi?" Tai-ho asked. "Yes. Those who believe old ways only, who would destroy the child." The Na'vi commander looked at the sky. "And human soldiers come soon. They search for survivors." "Human soldiers?" Tai-ho felt hope rise in his chest. "From Earth? Yes, but they will not understand the child, may take it for study for weapons." The Na'vi's voice grew harsh. "Child, not weapon. Child is bridge between worlds." Subin made a soft sound, almost like agreement. The Na'vi commander stepped back, toward the platform. "Go now. Follow river east of mountain. Find old building there. Human and Na'vi worked together once. Long ago. Answers wait there." Before Tai-ho could ask more questions, the Na'vi soldiers returned to the platform. It rose back into the ship, and the door closed. The ship's engines whined, and it rose higher into the night sky. Then it turned and flew away, followed by the other search ships. Tai-ho stood alone in the clearing, Subin quiet against his chest. The baby had stopped glowing now. "What just happened?" Tai-ho asked Subin. "What did you show them?" Subin just looked up at him with those mismatched eyes. That seemed too wise for a baby. Tai-ho looked toward Mount Hala, then east where the Na'vi had told him to go. He had planned to reach the emergency beacon on the mountain to call for rescue, but now he wondered if there was something more important to discover. "East it is then," he said to Subin. "Let's find this old building." Subin made a happy sound and nestled against Tai-ho's chest. Together they walked back into the forest, heading east as the first light of dawn began to break through the trees. The last soldier alive, still carrying the enemy's baby to safety. But now, the mission had changed. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about answers, and maybe, just maybe, about peace. 2 days later, Tai-ho and Subin reached the river the Na'vi commander had mentioned. It was wide and shallow, flowing east from Mount Hala. Tai-ho followed it, carrying Subin against his chest. The baby was quiet, watching the world with curious eyes. "I hope we find this building soon," Tai-ho told Subin. "Our food is almost gone." Subin made a soft sound and touched Tai-ho's cheek with tiny fingers that shifted between flesh and crystal. That afternoon they rounded a bend in the river and saw a building half hidden among tall trees. It looked old. Vines covered its walls. Parts of the roof had fallen in, but it was clearly made by human hands. "That must be it," Tai-ho said. He approached carefully, gun ready. Just because the Na'vi commander had been friendly didn't mean all Na'vi were. The front door was partly open. Tai-ho pushed it wider and stepped inside. The building was dark and dusty. Sunlight came through holes in the roof, making bright spots on the floor. It looked like some kind of research station. "Hello?" Tai-ho called. His voice echoed in the empty space. No one answered. Tai-ho moved deeper into the building. There were broken tables and chairs, old equipment covered in dust, and on one wall a sign that read, "Joint Xenobiology Research Initiative." "Humans and Na'vi working together," Tai-ho said, in wonder. So it was true. In the center of the main room was a computer terminal. It looked dead, but as Tai-ho approached, Subin began to glow. The baby's light pulsed outward, touching the terminal. To Tai-ho's surprise, the screen flickered and came to life. "How did you do that?" he asked Subin. The baby just made a happy sound. The screen showed a login page. Tai-ho had no idea what the password would be. But Subin glowed brighter, and the screen changed, showing a list of files. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" Tai-ho said, amazed. He sat down at the terminal and began to read. The files told an incredible story. 10 years ago, a small group of human and Na'vi scientists had started working together in secret. They believed their species could help each other instead of fighting. The Na'vi had knowledge of energy manipulation that humans couldn't dream of. Humans had creativity and adaptability that the Na'vi admired. But there were problems. Some human leaders learned about the project and saw a chance to create weapons. They wanted to use Na'vi crystal technology to make new kinds of bombs and guns. When the Na'vi found out, they became afraid. Most of them wanted to attack humans before humans could attack them. The war had started because of fear on both sides. Tai Ho kept reading. One file was about a scientist named Min Yoon-gi, a human geneticist. He had discovered that human and Na'vi DNA could be combined. Not easily, but it was possible. The result would be a being with powers from both species. The ability to manipulate energy like a Na'vi, with the adaptability and emotion of a human. "Is that what you are, Subin?" Taeho asked, looking at the baby. "A hybrid?" Subin's skin shifted to crystal form, glowing softly in response. Another file showed that Dr. Yoon-gi had been working with a Na'vi scientist named Iora. They had become more than colleagues. They had fallen in love, despite being from different species. Their love had seemed impossible, but they found a way. The last entry in the file was dated just before the war started. "We have succeeded where others failed. Our child will be born soon. But we are in danger. Both sides want to use our research for weapons we have to hide. If anyone finds this message, know that our baby is not a weapon. It is proof that humans and Na'vi can live in peace. Take our child to the stellar confluence. Show them what we created together. End this war." Taeho sat back, stunned. "You're their baby," he told Subin. "Dr. Yoon-gi and Iora's child. Born of love, not war." Subin's eyes seemed to understand, though that was impossible for a baby so young. A map appeared on the screen, showing a location in space. The stellar confluence. It was a neutral meeting place in the Tau Ceti system where different species could talk in peace. If Taeho could get Subin there, show the leaders what was possible. A loud noise outside made Taeho jump up. He looked out a window and saw a human shuttle landing in the clearing near the building. Earth Defense Force. His people had come at last, but he remembered what the Na'vi commander had said. The human soldiers might take Subin for study, for weapons research. That wasn't what Subin's parents had wanted for their child. "We need to be careful," Taeho told Subin. "Let me do the talking." 6 soldiers in Earth Defense Force uniforms entered the building, guns ready. They looked surprised to see Taeho. "Captain Kim?" one of them said. "We thought everyone was dead. We've been searching for survivors." "Lieutenant Park," Taeho greeted him. "Good to see you. I'm the only one left. My team died protecting the evacuation ships." Lieutenant Park nodded. Their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The ships reached Earth safely. His eyes focused on Subin. "What is that you're carrying, sir?" Taeho thought quickly. "A human baby. One of the colonists. I found it alone and couldn't leave it." Lieutenant Park came closer. "Let me see." Taeho had no choice. He opened the cloth wrap enough to show Subin's face. The baby, as if sensing the need, looked completely human at that moment. No crystal skin, no glowing. Even his eyes had changed, both brown now. "Poor thing," Lieutenant Park said. "We'll get it back to Earth to proper care." He touched his radio. "Sir, we've found Captain Kim alive. He has a survivor with him, an infant. We're bringing them in." Taeho felt relief, but also worry. Subin couldn't hide his true nature forever. What would happen when they discovered what he really was? "We have a shuttle waiting," Lieutenant Park said. "We can leave right away." Taeho nodded, but then had an idea. "Lieutenant, where is the fleet heading after pickup?" "To the Tau Ceti system," Park replied. "Command has ordered us to secure the stellar confluence. There are rumors the Na'vi want to talk peace, though I don't believe it myself." "Why?" Taeho felt a surge of hope. The stellar confluence. Exactly where Subin's parents had wanted their child to go. "No reason," Taeho said. "Just curious." As they walked toward the shuttle, Subin stirred against Taeho's chest. The baby made a soft sound that only Taeho could hear. Yes, Taeho whispered. We're going where your parents wanted you to go. And maybe, just maybe, we can end this war. The shuttle doors closed behind them. As they lifted off, Taeho looked out the window at the old research building growing smaller below, a place where humans and Na'vi had once worked together in peace. Proof that another way was possible. He looked down at Subin, now sleeping peacefully, against his chest. The last soldier alive was still carrying the enemy's baby to safety. But now he knew it wasn't just any baby. It was hope for the future, a bridge between worlds. The Earth fleet moved through space, a group of 20 warships heading for the Tau Ceti system. Taeho stood by a window on the main carrier ship, watching stars streak by. Subin was in his arms, wrapped in a new blanket the ship's doctor had given them. 3 days had passed since their rescue. 3 days of careful hiding. Subin seemed to understand the need for secrecy. The baby stayed in human form, with 2 brown eyes instead of 1 brown and 1 blue crystal. No one suspected. He was anything but a human child Taeho had saved. We'll reach the stellar confluence tomorrow, said a voice behind him. Taeho turned to see Admiral Choi, the fleet commander. He was an older man with gray hair and hard eyes. You should get some rest, Captain. You've been through a lot. Yes, sir, Taeho said. May I ask about the peace talks? Is it true the Na'vi want to end the war? Admiral Choi frowned. Some of them claim to, but I don't trust it. This could be a trap. What if it's not, sir? Taeho asked carefully. What if some Na'vi really do want peace? After they killed millions of our people? Admiral Choi's voice was sharp. Even if a few want peace, most want us dead. We need to be ready for anything. His eyes softened as he looked at Subin. The baby seems calm. Most would be crying, after what you both went through. He's special, Taeho said simply. Admiral Choi nodded and walked away. Taeho looked down at Subin, who was watching him with intelligent eyes. We need to be careful, Taeho whispered. Not everyone wants peace like your parents did. Subin made a soft sound that might have been agreement. That night, as Taeho slept in his cabin with Subin beside him, he was woken by a gentle glow. Subin was changing, his skin shifting to crystal form, patterns of light moving across his small body. Subin, no, Taeho said urgently. Someone might see. But the baby continued to glow. The light grew brighter, spreading through the room. Taeho's computer terminal turned on by itself. Words appeared on the screen. Stellar confluence ahead. Na'vi ships detected. Conflict likely. Taeho stared at the screen, then at Subin. Are you doing this? How can you know these things? Subin just looked at him with eyes that now showed their true nature. 1 human brown, 1 Na'vi blue crystal. Taeho dressed quickly and wrapped Subin in a blanket to hide his glow. He needed to find out what was happening. If conflict was coming, he had to act fast to prevent it. He carried Subin to the ship's bridge. It was night shift, with fewer staff on duty. Through the main viewport, Taeho could see they had arrived at the stellar confluence. It was a huge space station shaped like a wheel, turning slowly among the stars. Around it floated ships from many different species, and at one side, separated from the others, was a group of crystal ships. Na'vi ships. Sir, said a young officer, surprised to see Taeho on the bridge. You shouldn't be here with the baby. What's happening with the Na'vi ships? Taeho asked. The officer hesitated, then answered. They say they want peace talks, but Admiral Choi doesn't believe them. He's ordered all weapons to be ready. Where is the Admiral now? In communication with Earth Command, sir. They're deciding whether to attack. Taeho felt a chill. Attack during peace talks? That would make humans the aggressors. The war would never end. I need to speak with the Admiral, Taeho said. It's urgent. He left orders not to be disturbed, sir. Taeho knew he had to act. Subin was glowing brighter now, the light visible even through the blanket. The officers on the bridge were starting to notice. "Captain Kim, what is that?" one of them asked, pointing at Subin. Before Taeho could answer, Subin's glow pulsed outward, touching the ship's communication system. Suddenly the main screen lit up, showing the Na'vi flagship. On it stood the same commander Taeho had met on the planet. "Human ships," the Na'vi commander said, its voice translating through the system. "We come in peace. We bring proof of what our peoples can achieve together." Admiral Choi rushed onto the bridge, his face angry. "Who authorized this communication?" he demanded. Then he saw Taeho and Subin. His eyes widened as he noticed the glow coming from the blanket. "Captain Kim, what is going on?" Admiral Choi asked. Taeho took a deep breath. It was time for the truth. He unwrapped Subin, revealing the baby in all his glory, skin shifting between human and crystal, glowing with beautiful patterns of light, eyes mismatched but full of wisdom. "This is Subin," Taeho said, his voice strong and clear. "The child of Dr. Min Yoon Gi, a human scientist, and Aora, a Na'vi researcher. They fell in love. They created him to prove our species can live together in peace." The bridge was silent. Everyone stared at Subin in amazement and confusion. Then the Na'vi commander spoke again. "The child of prophecy. We have searched for him since his parents disappeared. He is the future, the bridge between our worlds." Admiral Choi looked from Subin to the screen and back. "This is impossible," he said. "Humans and Na'vi can't reproduce together. It's biologically impossible." "And yet, here he is," Taeho said. "Living proof it can be done. Proof that we are not as different as we thought." Subin's glow spread further, touching everyone on the bridge. As it did, Taeho felt something strange, a sense of connection, of understanding. From the looks on the others' faces, they felt it too. Images appeared in Taeho's mind, not his memories, Subin's, or perhaps his parents'. A lab where humans and Na'vi worked side by side. Laughter, friendship, love, and hope. Hope for a future, where both species could share their knowledge, their strengths. "He's showing us what could be," Taeho said softly, "if we choose peace instead of war." The Admiral's hard face softened. "Is this real? Can we trust it?" "I've carried this child across a dead world," Taeho said. "I've seen what he can do. He could have been used as a weapon, but his parents wanted him to be a bridge. It's our choice what happens next." On the screen, the Na'vi commander waited. Around the stellar confluence, ships from other species watched, witnesses to this moment. Admiral Choi was silent for a long time. Then he stepped forward. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. When it was done, he spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Choi of Earth Defense Force. I am ordering all human ships to stand down. We accept the Na'vi offer of peace talks." The tension on the bridge eased. The weapons officer canceled the attack preparations. Subin's glow became softer, gentler. "Request permission to take Subin to the confluence," Taeho said. "Let all species see what humanity and the Na'vi created together." Admiral Choi nodded. "Permission granted, Captain. I'll come with you." Hours later, Taeho stood in the great meeting hall of the stellar confluence. Representatives from 12 different species were gathered there, watching in wonder as Subin floated in the center of the room, glowing with all the beauty of both his human and Na'vi heritage. The Na'vi commander stood beside Taeho. His parents would be proud, it said. "Where are they now?" Taeho asked. "Gone," the commander said sadly. "They died getting him to safety, but their legacy lives in him." Subin's glow touched everyone in the room, sharing the vision of his parents, a future of cooperation instead of conflict. Admiral Choi stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, I propose a new beginning, not just peace, but partnership." The Na'vi commander nodded. "On behalf of the Na'vi collective, we accept." As the hall erupted in sounds of approval from all species present, Taeho felt a deep sense of completion. Subin floated back down into his arms, the glow fading as the baby gave, A small yawn. Tejo smiled. He had been the last soldier alive on a dead world, and by carrying the enemy's baby to safety, he had helped change the future for all humanity. Subin looked up at him with those special eyes, one human, one Na'vi, and Tejo knew that this was just the beginning of an extraordinary life for this child of two worlds. "Sleep now, little bridge builder," Tejo whispered. "You've earned your rest." As Subin drifted to sleep in his arms, representatives from Earth and the Na'vi collective began the work of building peace. A new era had begun, thanks to a baby who should not have existed, and the last soldier who chose compassion over hatred. In the vastness of space, among the endless stars, humanity had shown itself worthy of its place in the universe. The end.